So as we still wait for information on Switch 2, I decided to really dive into the entire software that we could get, because that's overall what really makes a console. At the end of the day, it doesn't really matter all the cool things that a new console can do if it doesn't have any new games or fun experiences. So of course, I decided to dive in deep and look at all the big games and launches that we could get over the next 7 to 8 years for a brand new console. And it's super exciting to think about what could be coming. A lot of it is stuff that we could expect, and some of it could be some surprises. So I want to go into it real quick because there's a lot on this list that I have written down, so I'll be briefly going through each installment. I'll also follow up each game with a year where I think it's going to come out. Of course, everything's starting at 2025, expecting the Switch 2 to come out at the beginning of next year. Real quick before we get started, stop what you're doing. Let's see how many people we can get from this one video to leave a like and subscribe, because there's a pretty big video coming out tomorrow and I'm excited to finally get this out for you guys, so you'll definitely want to see that. Make sure you're here for that by leaving a like, subscribing, and turning on post notifications. But without further ado, let's dive into the Switch 2 software lineup. First off, we have Metroid Prime 4, which a lot of people still believe is just going to be a Switch 1 title. I don't think so. I think it's either going to be a cross-release with Switch 1 and Switch 2, or it might just be Switch 2 title and Nintendo just threw us off by saying Switch 1. I don't know. I just do not see there being a huge brand new Metroid Prime game next year, and it's not coming out on the big console that's coming out next year as well. Especially if the console's coming out in March, it almost feels like it has to be on that new console. I don't know. We're just going to have to wait and see, but Metroid Prime 4 definitely sounds like a shoo-in for 2025, and if I were being more specific, I'd probably say early or even mid 2025 sounds the best. But next up, we have 2D Metroid. When is the next 2D Metroid going to be? Well, after Dread. Normally, with all these games, I'm going to tell you right now, it's normally around 4 to 5 years of a gap, so I'll always be comparing it to the game before. And yes, I'm saying around 2026, year 2 of the new console, we could be seeing a new 2D Metroid that probably restarts a new story that doesn't follow what we've had from Dread. Alright, of course, the obvious one in the room. What about Mario? Yes, I think we are going to get a big 3D, open world, huge Mario game, and I do think it's going to be 100% in 2025. I'd say either the launch title of Switch 2 or the big holiday game, and I'm really thinking launch title. It just makes a lot of sense. It's been a very long time, so we are not only due for a 3D Mario game, but based on the rumors, it sounds like we're going to be getting the next huge title for Nintendo. I'm talking Breath of the Wild style title, and I'm super excited about it. But yes, I'm saying early 2025 as a launch title in around March or whenever the new console launches. But then, I'm going to kind of surprise y'all with this one. I also think with this being so early, kind of like Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom did, I think there's a chance that we get a second 3D Mario title, something more linear along the lines of 3D Land, 3D World, or even Galaxy, and I think that title could come out in 2029 or even 2030. It kind of makes a lot of sense to me, something that's more scaled back and not as open as what we're getting probably next year. Next up, we have 2D Mario, and I don't think this is going to be another like 10-year wait as we were waiting from New Super Mario Bros. U to Super Mario Bros. Wonder. We know that the devs have been just working very slowly and calmly on this game, so it's not like they were just, not wanting to make another 2D Mario game. I think they're going to get back on track, and we should see another 2D one, I'd say around 2027 or 2028, because before this, I think there's a really good chance we see the next Mario Maker game. This is a big money maker from Nintendo. There's still so much they can do, not only in the 2D space, but also maybe even pushing into 3D. We see that it's definitely possible because we actually have a Mario 64 Maker that some fans have made online, and it works pretty daggone good. So I almost want to really imagine a full 3D Mario Maker, and maybe that's what our second 3D Mario game is instead of just a new 3D Mario game like I just mentioned. So that would be really cool as well, having endless 3D Mario levels. I'm saying whatever the next Mario Maker is going to be, Mario Maker 3 could be releasing in 2026, which just makes a lot of sense to me. So 2D Mario 2027/2028, Mario Maker 3 2026. Mario Kart is definitely in the same boat as the brand new open world 3D Mario game, where it's interchangeable between a launch title for the new console, I believe, and a holiday title. I still think it's going to be holiday title, so late 2025 sounds pretty good to me, but I am about 100% sure it's going to be a 2025 game nevertheless. And that also leads me to Luigi's Mansion 4. This is a game that we've been talking about since Luigi's Mansion 3 came out, because I fell in love with that game so much, so I can only imagine what they're going to do for 4, especially how well Luigi's Mansion 3 sold. I'm saying 2026, year 2 of the Switch sounds perfect. It could be a huge game for 2026, so that's what I'm marking my calendar for. That and Mario Maker, once again, just sounds to line up, the same way they did back in 2019. Now, it seems like on the Switch right now, we get a new Mario Party almost every 3 years, and we're getting a new one this year, so I think the next two are going to be 2027 and 2030. Just in my head make the most sense, because even though there is a Mario Party coming out at the end of this Switch lifecycle, it's going to be playable on the new console, and it might even be supported some more there and advertised to be played on that console as well. So either way, I still think we're getting at least 2 more Mario Parties on the next console, and that's when I'm expecting to see them. Now, of course, also with every new console, there's some new Mario sports titles. Now, I will say right off the gate, we're missing a couple. We don't have anything Mario basketball related or anything Mario baseball related either, which kind of sucks. So I'm hoping Nintendo focuses on those 2 first, because I know inevitably we're probably for sure going to get another Mario Tennis and another Mario Golf. Maybe even another Strikers. I'm not sure about that one, but I'm about 100% sure on Tennis and Golf. And I'd say Tennis is probably due for another game around 2026, year 2 of the Switch, and Mario Golf for year 3 of the Switch in 2027. Hopefully they are a lot better than what we've gotten on the current Switch, so we'll have to wait and see if Switch 2 actually gives us some good sports games this time around. Man, has it been a good time to be a Mario RPG fan, and I don't even know if Mario Rabbids is going to continue on or if we're going to get something regular Mario RPG style, since we just got the remake of the SNES game, so it's hard to say about those. But for Paper Mario, I think we might be sitting in a really good position, and we might be getting a true brand new return to form Paper Mario game that is kind of based like the Thousand Year Door, which would be so good, but I expect that coming around 2027, 2028. The only reason I'd say 2027 is if the Thousand Year Door remake didn't take as long as a brand new Paper Mario title and they're already hard at work at the next new one, but I'd say, yeah, 2027, 2028 sounds good. And Mario and Luigi, it's just weird predicting this one because I didn't even think the series would be coming back. I'm so excited for Brothership coming in this November. So yeah, I think another new Mario and Luigi could possibly be coming out as far as 2028 or maybe even 2029 if this one does sell really well, which I'm praying that it does. Alright, that's enough Mario. Let's move on to something else like Zelda, the new era of open world Zelda. I am a little confused by this one, I'm not gonna lie. With Tears of the Kingdom coming out so recently, I really don't know when we could expect the next Zelda game, because naturally you would think 6 to 7 years, which would put us into 2029, maybe even 2030, which is like year 5, year 6 of the console. That's pretty late for a new console and still not getting a new Zelda game. So I'm really hoping that maybe with Tears of the Kingdom using the same world and a lot of the same assets, it didn't take as much time, and a lot of their time was working on a new Zelda as well at the same time. One could only hope, who knows? But yeah, I feel like going through like year 4, year 5, year 6 and still waiting for a Zelda game on a brand new console is kind of crazy, but you never know what's going to happen. I'm hoping 2028, but we're just going to have to wait and see. The same thing goes for another top-down 2D Zelda game, which we are getting Legend of Zelda Echoes of Wisdom literally this year. It's going to be crazy to think when the next 2D Zelda game could be, and I'm thinking it could even be all the way in 2029. So we could have a brand new console that's very Zelda-less for a very long time, where they might have to really focus on remakes and remasters to get us through with Zelda content, which is kind of sad, but we've kind of got to expect it with 2 Zelda games coming out on Switch, 2 mainline huge Zelda games coming out on Switch. Now, what about Splatoon 4? This is going to be a big game for Switch 2, a big multiplayer online game, one of Nintendo's only big multiplayer online games. They want to get this out pretty quickly, so I don't think it's necessarily going to be year 1, but I think year 2 makes a lot of sense, like the summer of 2026, maybe pushing 2027, but I definitely think 2026 is more accurate, especially with some rumors suggesting that the game was already in development and getting close to release, believe it or not. Those were old rumors, I don't know how true they are, but yeah, you definitely want to get this game out sooner than later, but you also want to cook this game enough to be a full-fledged perfect feeling game that's actually got content in it. So hopefully Nintendo does that. Now, one thing that Nintendo did with the current Nintendo Switch is they gave us a new Splatoon game and another new Splatoon game. Yeah, we got 2 new Splatoons on Nintendo Switch, which was a little weird still looking back at it. So I think there's a good chance that maybe the second Splatoon game that we get could finally be a spin-off, like a full single-player adventure mode, actually allowing us to have a proper adventure mode this time around instead of the floating obstacle course mission style style gameplay that we've been having from 1 through 3, which is fine for a multiplayer based game, but I kind of really want to see a single player based game now, like a whole story and everything that maybe even ties into the lore of Splatoon 4, because it seems like the next Splatoon game might start a new trilogy of games, which would be great, and I think it'd be a great way to follow after the new release Splatoon 4, and I'd say probably around 2028, 2 years later, sounds really good to me. Next up, we have Fire Emblem and Xenoblade, and being completely honest with you guys, I don't know much about these games, and I just can go off of when the last ones came out, and it kind of lines up for these games to once again have a new title around 4 to 5 years later, and I'd say both of them could see a new game in the years of 2027 or maybe 2026, but I'm saying 2027 sounds pretty good for both franchises to get a new installment. What about Donkey Kong? Well, we are technically getting Donkey Kong Country Returns HD in 2025 already, so I don't think we'll be getting another Donkey Kong game, even though we are desperately due for one. So I'd say at the earliest, it makes sense that we'd finally see a new either 2D or 3D Donkey Kong, hopefully, in 2026. I am hoping. I don't think we can go much longer as we wait, because it's been so long since Tropical Freeze originally came out on the Wii U. But what about our boy Kirby? Well, I think there's a lot of stuff to look forward to with Kirby. For instance, I think the next 3D game, we could be getting a sequel to the Forgotten Land around 2026, year 2 of the Switch. Not to mention, we could be also getting a new 2D Kirby game sometime after that. Now, I guess it's just how HAL Labs is going to work on this stuff. Maybe they'll have 2 dedicated teams, one working on a 3D game and one working on a 2D title. That would be the best, so that way we don't have to wait too long for each one, or it has to be one or the other. So that way we can get some 2D and 3D Kirby action on Switch 2 would be great. But yes, I'm saying about 2026 for a big 3D one again. And as I would honestly just take any type of sequel to Forgotten Land, I think I'd also would love to see maybe a little bit more ambitious one. Maybe something like an open sandbox one like 64, Sunshine, or Odyssey. But I also want to mention the fact that we'll probably every single year get something Kirby, because HAL Labs is always on top of it, whether it is a remake, remaster, or port of an older game, which I'll get into later in this video, but also probably some fun smaller titles like eShop titles, or cheaper ones like Kirby Clash or Fighters. Something along those lines sounds about right, so we can always expect some Kirby goodness pretty much every year. What about Smash Bros? Well, thankfully Smash Ultimate came out pretty early in the Switch lifecycle, at the end of 2018, so we are probably already due for another Smash Brothers game. I don't think it's coming year 1 though, but I do think year 2 has a really good chance. 2026 would be 8 years since Ultimate, and I feel like they could probably go even a little bit further, but year 2 sounds pretty big. Now, I know a lot of these games I've already mentioned are in 2026 on this list, and yes, it's a lot of 2026 titles, but still, I just think it adds up pretty well. I'd say the end of 2026, like a big holiday game, could be the case. What about Star Fox? Could we finally see the return of Star Fox? Because if we got one in 2025, it would be 9 years. I think it would be amazing to see a new Star Fox year 1 of the Switch, really getting people excited about this new game, because it's a new console. You know, a lot of the time, people are just going to buy whatever comes out for that new console. Since the library is normally not that huge, having a new Star Fox game to really get people to try it out would be great and a perfect idea. Something along the lines of Battle for Atlas, believe it or not, because I heard a lot of people say that that's a better Star Fox game than most of the Star Fox games that we've gotten. So maybe they could make a Star Fox game, the people behind that game. Who knows, but I would love to see that. And something else I would love to see is maybe also in 2025, because it would be 17 years since the last Wario adventure game, and that was Wario Land Shake It, a 2D adventure game. So whether it's 2D or 3D like Wario World, which is an awesome game, definitely play it. It's quirky, it's weird, but it's tons of fun. But yes, maybe another Wario Land, Wario World style of game, something giving Wario an adventure. I mean, he has so many micro games on the Switch right now, it's time for him to have an actual adventure game, and I think 2025 would be a good time frame for that. Now, what about Yoshi? We haven't had a game since Crafted World. Now, the team behind the Yoshi games with Woolly World and Crafted World, Goodfeel actually just released Princess Peach Showtime at the beginning of this year, so it might be a little while until we see the next Yoshi game. I mean, naturally, I would have thought 2028 to 2029 sounds good, but it might be sooner because Crafted World was in 2019. It's just depending on if somebody else picks up Yoshi or if they continue to do Yoshi. But yeah, it might be later on until we see something Yoshi related. Hopefully not, but I'm actually hoping it's finally a 3D Yoshi game. A 3D Yoshi game in the form of Crafted World or Woolly World would be really cool with arts and crafts everywhere. So hopefully they do something like that after making, I think, their first 3D game with Princess Peach Showtime, which is kind of 3D. It's like 2.5D with 3D sections, but yeah, you get what I mean. But what about Animal Crossing, which was the big 2020 title to get us through the quarantine? Well, everybody's looking forward to the next Animal Crossing, and I don't think we're going to have as long as a gap as we did from the 3DS going to the Switch, because this is different. This time, Nintendo knows how many people are waiting for this game. It has been massively successful and one of the best-selling games on the Switch, so I'd say Nintendo probably doesn't want to go past year 2 without having this game on Switch 2. So I'm saying the next Animal Crossing, 2026. Well, what about Pokemon? Well, we know Pokemon Legends ZA is coming out next year, and it still apparently looks like it's coming to current Switch. It could be a Switch 2 title, we really don't know. Either way, it looks like we'll probably get a new mainline generation game in 2026, year 2 of the Switch 2, and maybe even another generation on the Pokemon Company in 2029 or 2030. Now, it looks like Pokemon Company is stretching out a little bit more time to work on these games, hopefully, because they always are riddled with bugs when they come out, so hopefully the next installment of Pokemon is actually really utilizing the hardware of Switch 2 and actually being a bugless, really cleaned up good game, you know what I mean? But we'll just have to wait and see. This is a kind of weird one of mine, but hear me out. People love Wii Fit and people love Wii Sports, and people absolutely loved Ring Fit, and people still loved Switch Sports even though it was a really bad game because the sales were up there. I mean, you got a sports game, people are going to want to play them. People have this connection with Wii Sports and Wii Fit, so why not combine them into a new game, like a Fit Sports game that actually can work you out, but you can also play fun games with it. I think something like that could very well happen. Because of how successful Ring Fit was on the Switch, I'd say some type of new sports or fit game coming out in maybe even year 1 of 2025 or year 2 of 2026. And I think we could be getting Pikmin 5 sooner than later. I know Pikmin 4 was a huge wait, but Pikmin 4 sold the best in the series, and Nintendo already deemed it a success, so we're probably already getting Pikmin 5 worked on as we speak. So I'm saying 2028 for Pikmin 5 sounds pretty good. I do want to move on to remakes, remasters, and ports here in a second, but my last game I'm going to bring up is kind of a strange random one, but Rhythm Heaven. Yeah, we are extremely due for a new Rhythm Heaven game, and it's something that I absolutely have been waiting for with the current Switch, and I thought would work really good with the Joy-Con and everything, but nope, no Rhythm Heaven game, but 2 WarioWare micro games. I love WarioWare, but man, it's definitely Rhythm Heaven time, so hopefully a new Rhythm Heaven, maybe 2026. But let's jump into real quick the remakes, remasters, and ports. I'm not going to dive into when I think they're coming out. I'm just going to talk about all the potential options that I think Switch 2 has for remakes and remasters, where it's not as many as the original Switch, but you still have a good little lineup here. Xenoblade X on the Wii U could be a direct port sent over since you have all the Xenoblade games on Switch 1. Is one more missing. Kirby has tons of titles to pull from. I personally think it's going to be Planet Robobot or, Triple Deluxe from the 3DS. Maybe even Rainbow Curse from the Wii U sounds pretty good because there has been some patent updates for Rainbow Curse, so maybe that's coming. F-Zero GX, it's time to bring F-Zero back. This is the perfect way. Kid Icarus Uprising, I would be shocked out of my mind if this game doesn't make it on a Switch 2. It needs to happen. It is an amazing game. If you haven't played it, you're probably going to want to look forward to this if this ever does happen and you don't have a 3DS. It'd be perfect for the Switch. With new controls and everything, oh my goodness. Punch-Out, I would love to see maybe the Wii game coming over just to give us something Punch-Out. I would love a new game, but let's face it, Nintendo's not going to do that. The best we can hope for is probably the Wii game. Zelda, there's been lots of rumors of like an Ocarina of Time remake, maybe even Majora's Mask remake eventually. The Oracle games could get remakes. That would be great, and maybe the Link's Awakening style. We could have Wind Waker and Twilight Princess finally come over. Who knows when those games will come over or if they ever will. Mario Galaxy 2 is one of the few Mario games that has not made it over yet and was not part of the 3D Mario collection for some reason. Maybe it's finally time to get this later on, that they actually add some stuff to it as well. I don't know. We also have Metroid Prime 2 and 3. I thought for sure that these games would be coming out before Prime 4, but I don't know anymore. It's starting to look grim. And then last but not least, another random little game here is maybe like a Pushmo collection with Pushmo, Stretchmo, Crashmo, all of them in in one big collection that we can play on Nintendo Switch. Definitely sounds like something Nintendo would do. We're just going to have to wait and see if that's possible. But those are all the major games that I think we could see for the entire lifeline of Switch 2. Yep, this generation of games coming up is probably going to be extremely exciting. It's time to get hype again very soon. It's just now up to Nintendo to start announcing some of these, and of course, the console itself, which could very well be happening in the next couple of months. But let me know in the comments down below if I missed anything. I'm sure I did. There's so many game franchises up there. How many other games did I miss? Is there anything that you wanted to see in particular? Definitely let me know which one you're most excited for down below, and leave a like and subscribe before you head out. Thank you guys so much for tuning in, and like always, I'll see you all on the next one. Give us Kid Icarus, Nintendo, please.